The universe, as it turns out, has a sense of humor. A dark, twisted sense of humor that makes you want to punch it right in its metaphorical face. Oh, and the gods. They are real, and they are jerks. My name is Zorn Taavik, Supreme Commander of what's left of the Galactic Confederation fleet. That sounds impressive until you realize what's left. It consists of exactly 14 battle-damaged cruisers, 27 fighters with half their weapons systems offline, and one luxury passenger liner we have converted into a makeshift hospital ship. Commander Taavik, the Void Eaters have breached the Aurelian system's outer defense perimeter. My first officer, Galactic, reported as she burst into the command center. Her azure skin had paled to a sickly shade of periwinkle, and her cranial tendrils were twitching, never a good sign. I sighed and took a long swig from my canister of stimulant juice. Fantastic. Just bloody fantastic. How long until they reach the evacuation point? 27 hours, sir, she replied. That's not enough time, I growled, slamming my fist on the holotable. We have over 4 million refugees still waiting for extraction. Even if we packed them in like preservative-packed meat cubes, we'd need at least 2 days. Kalla's expression told me everything. We don't have 2 days, sir. No kidding? Really? I thought when unstoppable cosmic horrors were consuming entire star systems, they might at least have the decency to keep to a reasonable schedule, I snapped, then immediately regretted it. None of this was Kalla's fault. I'm sorry. She nodded, her tendrils relaxing slightly. The Council of High Elders is requesting your presence in the emergency session, sir. Of course they are, I muttered. Because what this crisis really needs is more talking from people who have spent the last 4 centuries debating the proper protocol for interspecies handshake etiquette. The council chamber was packed when I arrived. Representatives from all 17 remaining species of the Confederation were shouting over each other. The noise hit me like a physical force, a cacophony of clicks, whistles, harmonic vibrations, and translated speech. I, Elder Pax Vantori, an ancient Cillian with reflective scales that had dulled with age, somehow managed to make himself heard without raising his voice. That's a trick they teach in High Elder School, I suppose. Commander Taavik, your assessment of our tactical position, please, he said, and the chamber fell silent. I cleared my throat. We are screwed. A ripple of shocked murmurs swept through the chamber. You want the sugar-coated version? Fine. The Void Eaters have consumed 42% of Confederation space. They have destroyed over 600 billion sentient lives that we know of. They cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be fought with conventional weapons. Our most powerful quantum disruptors barely slow them down. At the current rate of advance, the entire galaxy will be consumed within 3 standard years. Surely there must be something we haven't tried, chirped Elder Rixie, a diminutive avian whose feathers were constantly molting from stress. Well, we could try asking them nicely to stop eating reality itself, I replied. But considering they have ignored all communication attempts and seem to consider our most potent weapons as appetizers, I don't have high hopes for diplomacy. Elder Vantori's inner eyelids flickered in annoyance. Commander, this is hardly the time for sarcasm. With all due respect, Your Eminence, when facing extinction, sarcasm is one of the few luxuries we can still afford. That's when Elder Morok Thayan, the oldest and most respected member of the Council, spoke up. His species, the Vordax, were known for their photographic memories and unbroken historical records stretching back over 50,000 years. There is one option we haven't considered, he said, his deep voice barely above a whisper. The chamber went so quiet you could hear the environmental systems cycling. No, Elder Vantori said immediately. That is forbidden by the ancient compact. What option? I asked, looking between them. Elder Thane's 8 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of grave contemplation among the Vordax. The humans. The word hit the chamber like a bomb. Several elders gasped. One actually fainted. Elder Rixie's feathers exploded off his body in a cloud of panicked molt. Are you insane? Hissed Elder Vantori. We swore never to contact them again. After what happened on Proxima Centauri, after what they did to the Harvester fleet. I know the histories better than anyone in this room, Elder Thayan interrupted, a rare breach of council etiquette. I was there, Vantori. I saw what they did. And I'm telling you, we need them now. I looked around at the terrified faces of the council. Would someone please explain what the hell you are all talking about? Humans? I have never even heard of this species. Elder Than turned his ancient eyes toward me. You wouldn't have. Every mention of them was purged from our records. Their star system is quarantined, surrounded by automated warning beacons. By decree of the Confederation and by agreement with the humans themselves, we stay away from each other. Why? I asked. Because they terrify the gods, Elder Thayan replied simply. Now, I should explain something about our culture. We don't use the word gods lightly. The Confederation recognizes 11 transcendent species that evolved beyond physical form millions of years ago. They rarely interact with mortals like us, but their power is unquestioned. They can rearrange stars, create or destroy matter at will, and bend the fundamental forces of the universe. And apparently, something about these humans scared them. The Void Eaters have already consumed 2 of the transcendent ones, Elder Thayan continued. The rest have retreated beyond the galactic rim. They have abandoned us. But the humans didn't, I guessed. No, the humans fought. And they won, though the cost was substantial. Elder Vantori slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor. This is blasphemy. The ancient compact clearly states. The compact doesn't matter anymore. Elder Thayan roared with surprising force for his age. Nothing matters if we are all dead, Vantori. The humans are our only hope. Even if we wanted to contact them, how would we? I asked. If they are quarantined. I have the coordinates, Elder Thayan said, and the emergency communication protocols. The chamber erupted again, but I tuned it out, considering our options, which were essentially none. Die now or risk contacting these mysterious humans who apparently scared the living daylights out of beings powerful enough to create solar systems. Do it, I said, cutting through the noise. Send the message. 3 hours later, I stood alone in my quarters, staring out at the stars, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake in Confederation history. The message had been sent, a desperate plea for help, broadcast directly into a system called Sol, whatever that meant. The door chimed. Enter, I called. Callus stepped in, holding a data tablet. Sir, we have received a response from the human system. My heart skipped several beats. That was fast. What did they say? Just one word, sir. She handed me the tablet. The message read simply, coordinates? I almost laughed. Not hello. Not we received your message. Not even who is this? Just coordinates? Direct. Practical. Slightly ominous. I liked them already. Send them the coordinates for the Aurelian system and our fleet position, I ordered. And, Kala? Put the fleet on high alert. I have no idea what to expect. Yes, sir, she replied, pausing at the door. Do you really think they can help us against the Void Eaters? I shrugged. According to the Council, they scared immortal energy beings that can juggle stars. So either they are the salvation we desperately need, or they are so terrible that we will be begging the Void Eaters to eat us faster. She didn't laugh. I didn't blame her. The waiting was excruciating. 6 hours passed with no sign of the humans. The Void Eaters continued their relentless advance through the Aurelian system, consuming everything in their path, planets, stars, even the very fabric of space-time left twisted and mangled in their wake. Commander, the sensor officer called out. We are detecting multiple spatial ruptures at the edge of the system. My heart sank. The Void Eaters? No, sir. The energy signature is different. I have never seen anything like this. The main view screen activated, showing a section of seemingly empty space. Then reality itself seemed to tear open, not the chaotic, destructive rifts created by the Void Eaters, but precise, controlled cuts in the fabric of space-time. And through these wounds in reality came ships. Human ships. They were wrong. That's the only way I can describe it. Where Confederation vessels were sleek and elegant, these were brutish, angular, and covered in protruding weapons. Where our ships glowed with the soft blue light of hyperfield generators, these leaked ominous red energy from what appeared to be deliberately exposed power cores. They looked less like ships and more like mobile fortress factories designed by someone with a particularly aggressive interpretation of aesthetics. "Sir," Kala whispered beside me. "There are over 3,000 of them." I couldn't speak. The Confederation, at the height of its power, had fielded perhaps 2,000 capital ships spread across the entire galaxy. These humans had just casually deployed a larger fleet in response to a distress call. The communications array chimed. "Incoming transmission from the human fleet," the comms officer announced, sounding as stunned as I felt. "Put it through," I ordered, straightening my uniform. The viewscreen shifted to show, well, a human, I presumed. The being looked surprisingly similar to several Confederation species, though with less prominent features, no scales, feathers, or exoskeletal elements. It had pinkish tan skin, short dark fur on top of its head, and wore what appeared to be a military uniform adorned with incomprehensible symbols. "This is Admiral Yoshida of the Terran Defense Force," the human said, its voice oddly melodic. "We received your distress call. Looks like you have got a bit of a pest problem. A bit of a pest problem. Trillions dead, worlds consumed, reality itself being devoured, and the human called it a bit of a pest problem." "Commander Zorn Taavik of the Galactic Confederation," I replied. "Thank you for responding to our call, Admiral Yoshida. But I must warn you, these pests have destroyed everything we have thrown at them." The human's face did something strange. The corners of its mouth turned upward, revealing rows of blunt white teeth. I would later learn this expression was called a smile, though it looked decidedly predatory. "Yeah, we figured as much, Commander. That's why we brought the big guns." The human gestured vaguely. "We have got evacuation ships ready for your civilians. Just point us to where they are gathered, and we will handle it." "Admiral," I said hesitantly, "I don't think you understand the nature of our enemy. The Void Eaters consume reality itself. They have destroyed entire star systems. Even the transcended ones, what you might call gods, flee before them." That strange smile widened on the human's face. "Gods, who?" "Well, let me tell you something about gods, Commander Taavik. They bleed just like everyone else. You just need to know where to cut." A cold sensation washed down my spine. I remembered Elder Thaon's words, "They terrify the gods." The human continued, "Now let's get your people to safety. Then we will introduce these Void Eaters to humanity. I think they will find us rather indigestible." And as the first wave of human ships moved toward the refugee gathering points with impossible speed, I couldn't help but wonder if we'd just replaced one horror with another. But at least these horrors were on our side. For now. "Yeah, sir," Kala said, studying a tactical display. "The human vessels are deploying some kind of, I'm not sure what to call them. They look like soldiers, but," she trailed off, squinting at the readouts. I moved to her station, looking over her shoulder. What I saw made no sense. "Are those individuals?" "In open space?" "Yes, sir. Thousands of them. They are wearing some kind of armored suits, but they are not using vessels. They are just floating out there, moving under their own power." The tactical display showed swarms of tiny humanoid figures emerging from the larger human ships, propelling themselves toward the advancing edge of the Void Eaters' consumption front. They carried weapons that seemed absurdly large even for their armored frames. "This is suicide," I muttered. "What do they think they are doing?" "Fighting gods," Kala replied softly. The evacuation began with brutal efficiency. Human shuttles, each 3 times the size of our largest transports, descended to the refugee gathering points. Their loading procedures would have horrified our Confederation safety regulators, thousands of civilians herded into cargo bays designed for freight, secured not with proper crash webbing, but with hastily deployed foam that expanded to hold them in place. Yet, for all its apparent recklessness, the human evacuation proceeded at 5 times our projected rate. They weren't gentle, but they were fast. As the last refugee transports lifted off, Admiral Yoshida contacted me again. "Your people are secured, Commander," she reported. "Now we are going hunting." "Admiral," I began, "I appreciate your confidence, but these entities have consumed worlds." "They have." Yeah, she interrupted with a casual wave of her hand. "Big, scary cosmic horrors, very impressive. But here's the thing about cosmic horrors, Commander Taavik." That predatory smile returned. "They have never met humans before." The view screen shifted to a tactical display as the Admiral continued speaking. "You might want to watch this. It's going to be one hell of a show." And as the human fleet turned to face the advancing wall of nothingness that was the Void Eaters, I couldn't help but feel we had indeed made a terrible mistake. But at least it would be an interesting way to end the universe. The Void Eaters approached like a tsunami of nothingness, a wall of absolute nullification that consumed everything it touched. Stars winked out. Planets crumbled. Space itself warped and twisted before dissolving into non-existence. And against this apocalyptic force, the humans sent individuals in armor. "This is madness," I whispered, watching the tactical display as thousands of suited human figures flew directly towards certain death. Kala stood beside me, her cranial tendrils completely still, a sign of total shock among her people. "Sir, the sensors are picking up energy readings from the human suits that exceed anything in our database. Each individual soldier appears to be generating power equivalent to a Confederation cruiser's main reactor." "That's impossible," I said automatically. "Apparently not for humans," she replied. The comm crackled. "Commander Taavik," came Admiral Yoshida's voice. "You might want to dim your visual sensors for the next few minutes." Before I could respond, the void between the human troops and the cosmic horror lit up with such intensity that our view screens automatically polarized to maximum. Even so, the light was blinding. When my vision cleared, I saw something no sentient being in the Confederation had ever witnessed: the Void Eaters retreating. What did they do?" I stammered. "A shifted quantum detonation cascade," replied Admiral Yoshida, who had apparently been listening in. She sounded almost bored. "Basically, we punch holes in reality slightly faster than they can eat it, creating a feedback loop of dimensional instability that they find rather uncomfortable." The casual way she described weapons that warped the fundamental nature of existence made my blood run cold. "Admiral," I began carefully, "such technology is concerning." "Oh, this is just the warm-up act," she replied. "Tactical team was testing their response parameters. Now we are bringing in the heavy hitters." The heavy hitters arrived in the form of 7 enormous vessels that emerged from the largest human ship. They were shaped like elongated pyramids with what appeared to be massive crystalline formations protruding from their hulls. As they moved toward the regrouping Void Eaters, I noticed something odd. "They have no weapons," I said, studying the sensor readings. "No visible weapons," Kala corrected. "But those crystal structures are generating some kind of field that, sir, I don't know how to describe this. They are creating localized bubbles where the laws of physics are being rewritten." Admiral Yoshida's voice came through again, this time with an edge of what I would later recognize as glee. "We call them reality anchors, custom designed for entities that manipulate dimensional boundaries. You see, Commander, you can't fight something that consumes reality by shooting at it. You have to change the battleground." As the 7 vessels arranged themselves in a precise formation, a new voice joined the channel. "Reality anchor deployment complete. Physics lockdown in 3, 2, 1, execute." Between the 7 ships, space itself seemed to crystallize. The Void Eaters, caught in the affected zone, suddenly slowed, their amorphous forms taking on more defined shapes as they were forced into a single-dimensional state. "What's happening?" I asked, unable to look away from the spectacle. "We are forcing them to play by our rules," Admiral Yoshida explained. "No more phase shifting, no more dimension hopping, no more reality manipulation. Just good old-fashioned matter vs. matter. And when it comes to destroying matter." The smile was audible in her voice. "Humans excel at that." The main human fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. These weren't the elegant hyperfield disruptors or quantum resonance beams of Confederation vessels. Human weapons were crude, overwhelming, and horrifyingly effective missiles that tore holes in space-time, beam weapons that seemed to set vacuum itself on fire, and projectiles that moved so fast our sensors struggled to track them. Where once the Void Eaters had shrugged off our most powerful attacks, they now screamed. There's no other way to describe it. Though there was no sound in space, our sensor arrays detected vibrations across multiple dimensional planes that our systems automatically translated as audio. The result was a cacophony so terrible that several of my bridge crew removed their communication devices in pain. "They are hurting them," Kala said in disbelief. "They are actually hurting gods." "I told you they bleed," came Admiral Yoshida's voice. "Now we are going to find out what they are made of." Literally. A new group of human vessels moved forward, smaller, faster ships that darted around the now sluggish Void Eaters. They weren't attacking but instead appeared to be taking samples, cutting away pieces of the cosmic entities with precision tools. "Admiral," I said, suddenly alarmed, "what exactly are your people doing?" "Science, Commander. Very aggressive science." Within minutes, the human fleet had boxed in the Void Eaters completely. The entities that had consumed half of Confederation space, that had sent immortal energy beings fleeing in terror, were now trapped like laboratory specimens. Extraction teams report successful sampling, reported a new human voice over the channel. Preliminary analysis indicates exploitable biological components. Permission to proceed with weaponization? Granted, Admiral Yoshida replied. Fast-track it. I want deployment options in 1 hour. My jaw dropped. 1 hour? Admiral, Confederation research teams spend decades studying new lifeforms before even considering potential applications. The Admiral laughed a sharp, startling sound. With respect, Commander, that might explain why you were losing this war. We operate on slightly more aggressive timelines. While the research vessels worked, the rest of the human fleet continued its assault on the trapped Void Eaters. Under normal circumstances, I would have felt pity for any beings suffering such an onslaught. But these entities had consumed trillions of lives without hesitation or remorse. So instead, I watched with grim satisfaction as humanity taught cosmic horrors the meaning of fear. Commander, Kala said, drawing my attention to a new sensor reading. One of the Void Eaters is attempting some kind of communication? I shared a look with her. In all our encounters with these entities, they had never responded to communication attempts. Admiral Yoshida, I relayed, our sensors indicate one of the entities is generating communication patterns. Yeah, we are picking that up too, she replied. Probably trying to negotiate now that they are getting their incorporeal asses kicked. Typical bully behavior, all terror and domination until someone punches back. Shouldn't we at least hear what they are saying? I suggested. There was a pause before the Admiral responded. Fine. Patching it through now. What came through wasn't language as any Confederation species would recognize it. Instead, it was a series of conceptual impressions powerful enough that everyone on the bridge flinched simultaneously. Cease. Mistake. Not food. Communication error. What does that mean? Kala whispered. The next transmission clarified, though it brought no comfort. Apology. Believed galaxy uninhabited. Signal misconstrued as invitation. First will depart. I blinked in shock. They thought the galaxy was empty? How is that possible? The Confederation spans thousands of star systems. Not to them, Admiral Yoshida said, her voice suddenly cold. Look at the scale difference. To entities that operate across multiple dimensions and consume entire star systems, your civilizations might appear as insignificant as bacteria. They probably didn't even notice they were killing sentient beings. Recognize humans. Previous encounter. Agreement of separation. Will honor. In departing. Previous encounter? I turned to the view screen where Admiral Yoshida's face had gone expressionless. Admiral, you have encountered these entities before? Not these specific ones, she replied carefully. But others of their kind, yes. About 300 years ago, by our calendar. They wandered into our home system. We explained the concept of boundaries to them. Given what I'd just witnessed of human military capabilities, I could only imagine what that explanation had entailed. So all of this, I said slowly, the trillions dead, the world's consumed, it was a misunderstanding. They didn't even know we were here? The Admiral's face hardened. Does that matter? Negligent genocide is still genocide, Commander. But she sighed. If they are willing to leave peacefully now, we won't pursue. We are not monsters. The irony of that statement, coming from a species that had just forced godlike entities to scream in pain, was not lost on me. What about the damaged sections of space? I asked. The consumed worlds and star systems? Gone, she said bluntly. Some things even we can't fix. But we can help you rebuild elsewhere. The Void Eaters, true to their word, began to retreat. The human fleet maintained its formation, weapons still trained on the entities as they accelerated toward the edge of the system. Commander, Kala said, studying the long-range sensors. They are really leaving. All of them. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, the first expression of joy I'd heard in months. But I couldn't join in. Something was nagging at me. Admiral Yoshida, I said, you mentioned you encountered these entities before. Yet Elder Theon spoke of the ancient compact, a quarantine agreement between humans and the Confederation. Are these events connected? The Admiral was silent for a long moment. That's a complicated question, Commander. One better discussed in person, I think. Once your people are settled. That non-answer told me more than any explanation could have. 3 days later, with the Void Eaters gone and the evacuation complete, I found myself aboard the Admiral's flagship for that promised conversation. The human vessel's interior was as utilitarian as its exterior, all function, minimal aesthetics, and an overwhelming sense of barely restrained power. Admiral Yoshida met me in what she called the officers' mess, apparently a communal eating space. She was smaller in person than she had appeared on the view screen, but no less intimidating. Drink? She offered, holding up a container of clear liquid. Thank you, no, my species doesn't process alcohol well. She nodded and poured herself a glass. So, the ancient compact. You want to know the real story? If you are willing to share it, I replied carefully. The Admiral took a sip of her drink. 342 years ago, we encountered our first alien species. They called themselves the Harvesters. They had a simple philosophy: resources exist to be taken, and weaker species exist to be exploited or exterminated. I know of them from our historical records, I said. They were a threat to early Confederation worlds until they mysteriously disappeared about 300 years ago, yes. The Admiral's smile was cold. They made the mistake of attacking Earth. We eliminated them. All of them. The casual way she described the annihilation of an entire spacefaring civilization sent a chill down my spine. During that conflict, she continued, we developed technologies and weapons that concerned the entities you call the transcended ones. They reached out to us afterward, along with representatives of your early Confederation. They proposed the compact we would stay within our region of space, developing as we wished, and you would all stay away. Everyone agreed it was for the best. Because you terrify the gods, I quoted. She laughed. Is that what they told you? Flattering, I suppose. The truth is simpler. We terrify everyone because we refuse to accept limitations, even the limitation of being mortal. What do you mean? The transcendent ones achieved their state through millions of years of evolution. We were impatient. She finished her drink. Let's just say there's a reason our soldiers can generate as much power as your cruisers. We have been improving ourselves. Aggressively. I thought of the human troops in their powered armor, facing down cosmic horrors without hesitation or fear. You have been modifying yourselves? Enhancing, she corrected. Genetically, cybernetically, dimensionally. The average human today is as different from our ancestors as they were from single-celled organisms, and the transcendent ones feared this, I guessed. Your rapid evolution. They feared how we were achieving it, she said, and what we might become if left unchecked. Hence the quarantine. Which, by the way, we agreed to mainly because we were busy with our own projects and didn't need the distraction of galactic politics. I sat back, trying to process everything. So what happens now? The compact has been broken. Your fleet is in Confederation space. Now? The Admiral spread her hands. Now we help you rebuild. As a gesture of goodwill. And then we renegotiate the terms of our coexistence. The way she said renegotiate made it clear this would not be a discussion between equals. The Council of High Elders will want assurances, I said. Guarantees that humanity won't expand aggressively into Confederation space. Admiral Yoshida's laugh was genuine this time. Commander Taavik, if we wanted your territory, we would have taken it centuries ago. Space isn't what we are interested in conquering. Then what are you interested in? Her eyes gleamed with an intensity that reminded me, uncomfortably, of the energy weapons her ships had deployed against the Void Eaters. The possibility, she said simply. The fundamental limits of existence and how to transcend them. Your Confederation explores the stars. We explore what it means to be. And the Void Eaters? I asked. Will they return? Not to this galaxy, she said with absolute certainty. We have made arrangements. I didn't ask what those arrangements entailed. Some things, I was learning, were better left unknown when it came to humans. As I prepared to leave, the Admiral placed a small device on the table between us. A gift. A quantum communicator tuned to our emergency frequencies. Just in case you ever need us again. I stared at the device. It represented both salvation and terrible power, the ability to call upon beings that terrified gods. Thank you, I said, taking it carefully. Though I hope we never have to use it. So do we, Commander. Her smile returned, softer now but no less unsettling. But the universe is full of horrors. It's good to have friends who are worse. As my shuttle returned to what remained of the Confederation fleet, I gazed out at the human armada, thousands of vessels bristling with weapons that could harm cosmic entities, crewed by beings who had refused the limitations of their own biology. Elder Thayan had been right to be afraid. But he had also been right to call them. Sometimes, when facing monsters, you need monsters of your own. And humanity, it seemed, had perfected the art of becoming just monstrous enough to protect what they valued, without losing what made them worth saving. Gods help anyone who threatened that balance, because the humans certainly wouldn't.